couple things for folks listening to the recording. New Writers Workshop article up on Substack, one a month. Subscribe, get it sent directly to your inbox. Also, the recording from 2 weeks ago is available on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Put out the new pre-order for next month's ebook and audiobook pairing that will be exploring our national parks, Badlands, bunch of photos in the ebook version. Obviously, the audiobook version won't have any pictures, no pictures in there. Just a recap, some highlights from this month. I put out a remake of There Is Unrest in the Forest, an AI film short I made last year, but I updated this year with some new tools. Also, Anunnaki, Origin of Sumeria hit... Oh, I lost Heidi. Anunnaki, Origin of Sumeria hit number 1 on the new releases for Alien Contact. Heidi, do we have you back? Are you up on stage or do I have to re-invite you? How has it been since the last time I talked to you?
Not much has changed in the past short period. It's been fine. The sun's coming out here. The fog's melting away. Getting a little sunshine. That'll be nice.
Very good. Yeah, happy
Yes.
about that.
Yes, I am. My tomatoes are growing.
Oh, I'm going to tell you something right now. It has been quite hot over the last week, and after this hangout session, I got to get outside and fertilize and water because some of the plants are begging for water. But also, it's that time of the cycle for fertilization as well.
I need to do that too.
Yeah, give it a shot.
I need to get some fertilizer out there, and things are going pretty darn well right now.
Beautiful summer.
Yeah, it's very mild here right now.
Oh, it's been scorching for the last week here.
Yeah, well, I'm not complaining. It's kind of perfect, frankly, because it's like
Lucky.
You're not cold and you're not hot.
Yeah. I'm starting to get tomatoes coming in. I've got some peppers coming in. I've got radishes coming in. I've got, what else is out there? All kinds of herbs are ready to go. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Yeah, beans are growing. We got cucumbers making their way. Yeah, all kinds of good stuff. Can't wait. Very excited for that.
You should share some pictures of your garden. Make us all jealous. It sounds really...
Maybe at some point we'll see. But right now I just am thinking about like, man, I got to water these things because I haven't done it yet today. Usually I'll do that in the morning, and I water a little bit every day for the plants because some of them are still kind of young. So I don't like to put the hose on them when they're little.
Yeah, no.
So I can water at this stage of things, but it won't be too much longer. I'll be busting out the hose on them. We both have interesting publishing news in the sense of getting audiobooks turned in and submitted for distribution. And, congrats to you on getting yours turned in. I know that doesn't mean approved and live, but I feel good that yours is going to be approved and made live soon.
Well, you've listened to all of it, and then the chapters that were really problematic, I re-recorded. So I think that was the best way around it, to just re-record it than to try and fix them.
Yeah, you do what you can.
It just made the most sense. So I think, I'll tell you, I don't think I told you this. When I realized I was getting that rumble sound in my recording, and it wasn't this, it wasn't that, and I finally figured out. I hit a wall because I couldn't figure out what the problem was. I was like, I can fix this. I will do what I have to, but I can't figure it out. It was just so randomly happening. And I literally I got down on my knees and prayed, and within 10 minutes, my kid showed up and said, "Try these headphones and fixed it, and that's when I realized it was the port in the mic that was causing it.
Yeah. Well,
So, thank
stuff
you,
happens.
God. And it went, and I was able to finish from that point on. It just went.
We're very happy for you. 1 year in production is a good run.
That's way too long. It shouldn't have taken
Well,
that long, but a big chunk of that was me, as you well know, learning how to do it. So,
yeah.
and then making some mistakes that took time,
Next
you know?
one's only going to take a fifth of the amount of time, luckily.
I know, right? I got it now. I know how to do it now. No, I mean, that's not even a joke. It's for real. I mean, I need to upgrade my mic setup because my mic's we discussed this.
Yeah.
My mic's not good. It's
Well,
not, the right thing to be using for
yeah. Well, it's fine for it, but you got to baby something like that. Before we get too into the weeds on the technical hardware thing, I want to say hi to Zach because I don't think you've been on the program before, though we have done a podcast with you and your brother to promote the books that you guys release. Would you like to say hello, promote anything? I know your volume 3 of your series has come out or is coming out shortly. You tell us.
Yeah, I just had to do that.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. Yeah, tell us all of the things, please.
All the things. I got to be honest, I didn't hear anything for the last 2 minutes.
Excellent. Well, let me recap here for you, and everybody else can listen again. So basically, tell us about the new book, either coming out or is released or pending with your brother, and the series, anything like that. And we can even get into the book sale and whatnot as we go.
Sure. Yeah. So I believe my interview with you on Speakercone was already out.
Oh, yeah.
Where
Last
we talked
month.
about it. Yes. So the book is called Tooth and Nail. It is the third in our post-apocalyptic series. When I say our, I mean me and my brother, Joshua. It just came out June 20th. So we already saw some sales. I was hoping that the base book sale would give us a little bit of a boost because we put the first 2 books on sale, and obviously I was right. That worked out. We saw some sales on all 3 of them. Even picked up a couple reviews already, which is always nice. Gives me a little bit more traction. But we're, Josh is already starting writing his own thing now. I think our interview with David over on Mirthquake the other day really convinced him to start writing his own stuff because I've already got one of my own books that I did that's Slip Space. So Joshua was kind of like, oh, maybe I should have something to my name too. But we're really happy with our Continuum series. We love that it's a trilogy now. We think there's more to come, but even if it takes us a while, it's nice to have the 3 books. It's a very nice, complete feeling to say, yeah, I've got a trilogy of my books out, and people are reading all 3 of them. Feels really good.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Congrats. Very happy for you guys. And, I assume that we'll see more either coordinated writing from the both of you or particularly within the world that you've started, because I feel like you're going to get more ideas and things will pop up inside of there.
Oh, yeah. Funnily enough, we actually, for the first time in a while, we sold one of our a copy of our spin-off novella that we wrote, which is just it's like related to this series. It's not in one of the mainline sections on Amazon, but it used to be a Kindle Vella story. It's called Dead Capital, and it's about a character from book 2 that we spun off and took to Washington D.C. just to kind of explore that corner of our world. And like I said, it was a Kindle Vella story, and then Kindle Vella shut down.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, why not just convert it to a quick 15,000 or less word novella? And so that's what I did, and I didn't expect much of it. It didn't really get a whole lot of attention right away, but it was there. And this sale actually helped us get that one off the ground. So now that one has a review, and
Congrats.
we sold it. So it's the whole series, I think, is going to benefit. and I'm excited to see how much more we can do with it.
This is something that Heidi and I talk about kind of regularly, is like hitting critical mass, with having enough material out there for people that are interested in your work to really fall in love with the work and just like continue to read more and more of it. And to say, like, if you've announced a series but you only have one book out, then we all know some people who have a problem finishing their series.
I've been told that. So I stopped I think the mistake is don't market a series as a series on book one. Tell people once it's done, I think is the approach.
Well, if you've got 2 books out in the series, you are going to have to market it as a series.
Well, okay, at that point, but but it's like I was flat because I'm working on a series, right? So I was flat out told, well, I have a friend who's really interested, but they're going to wait till all the books are out because they don't want to have to wait for all the books to come out. You know what I mean?
Sure. But then I see someone like, JCM Byrne. He has his Hybrid Helix series, and he's just releasing a new book all the time. I don't think he has a set number for it. Like right now, he's probably on
Yeah.
book 8 or 9 or something. And that's kind of how Josh and I are treating this series. We don't really know for a fact where it's going to end. We have a rough idea of what we want that final story to be, but we just keep adding more stories. And I think 3 is a good number to officially market it as a series. But to say we need to finish it first, I think that would be difficult just because there's so many stories we could tell in this world.
Well,
I'd rather leave that open.
yeah, I hear you. I mean, it's kind of this was from a reader, not a writer, right? So I mean, I think it can be complicated, and it's also, I mean, on the writing side, it can feel kind of limiting, like because if, like you just said, we don't know how far this is going to go yet. For me, I think in groups of three. So like I have a set of three, and in the back of my mind, I have like another set of three. Maybe I'm a little influenced. I kind of like group like that. I think, but that's just that's how I think about it. And then maybe I have some like ancillary things, like some novellas that are ancillary to the main.
This is the first I'm hearing of this second trilogy, Heidi.
Well, let me finish that first.
Whoa. You're blowing my
I have
mind.
an idea. I have a background idea, and I sort of like developing it. I've got some novellas, short novels that I would put as ancillary to the main story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
In the world. So no, I get it, and it's sort of like again. I think it just comes down to critical mass. If there's enough stuff out, enough of those pieces available, not necessarily all of them, folks stop thinking about, I'm going to wait till it's done. They start wanting to just kind of jump in. I don't know. I think critical mass is the key here. That's the best I can come up with.
Yeah, I mean, they say the best marketing strategy is to write another book. That's what I've heard.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
yeah, so I mean, if you have a series going and you want more attention on that first one, or you want to make your marketing more sustainable, like if you're paying for ads, right? You only got one book out. That's probably not going to turn a profit, BookBub ads or whatever. But if you have a trilogy with a spinoff or two, or whatever, and you market the latest one or you market the first one on sale, that one ad could turn into 3 sales, which of course would be profitable. Um, so that's definitely the right strategy, is to just keep going and put it out there.
Yeah, right. The concept that the first book is, once you have more, the second book at least, the first book becomes your marketing and your loss leader. So
Speaking of sales, Heidi chose not to participate in the summer-based book sale. How's it feel being left out in the cold?
So let's just preface all of that with Heidi was really overwhelmed with trying to deal with her audiobook and let a few things go. How's that?
Okay.
Let's preface it with that.
All right.
It wasn't necessarily a conscious decision so much as it was a conscious decision to focus on the thing that was making, that I had to get done, and that just and I just let everything else fall to the side.
The audiobook that you had no set release date for?
Yes, that's the one.
I'm just dogging you.
It's always a pleasure dealing with Mike. Honestly, his kindness and generosity are just so overwhelming. I just can never wait to get into a space with him. It's
And
awesome.
you're in a space with me like 2 to 3 times a week.
I know.
Yeah,
I
think
know.
about that.
I
You really do love it.
I clearly have some problems.
I'm just messing with you. We have been looking forward to this audiobook for like a year. So it's like super awesome that it is now basically stealing home from third base and about to come out, because we all get to like do our part and signal boost this thing, which I've heard the entire thing. I've listened to it from front to back. Obviously now Heidi went and re-recorded a couple chapters on me. I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure there's no major differences in performance or presentation, production and such. It sounds good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The major difference is the rumble's gone.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't hearing what you were hearing. There were some. I gave Heidi like extensive notes, chapter by chapter, on the audio quality and stuff like that. Little things to fix and whatnot. She was hearing something that I wasn't. I am still not even confident that was there, because I never got those tracks. Heidi, I never got to check them again, and you went and made more work for yourself. But here's the thing, it's done now.
No, seriously, it was not. You could. I listened to them and 3 different ways from Sunday, right? It was there, and it was just this low grade rumble.
Okay. Right.
And I know that part of it is because my mic was breaking.
Okay.
And I somehow limped past the finish line with things. So I'm just hoping that that we get approval in a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No, I have no doubt in my mind that they will approve your book and it'll go live, and then we'll be tracking our own podcast session to promote and getting that thing into other people's ears. That's the important part.
So you're recording it yourself, your audiobook?
I did it. Yeah, I did the audio. And I was going to do a dual narrative, but it didn't. I realized it was better to just do me, because it was a whole learning experience. So there was a bunch of so it would just this long convoluted story this is part of the reason it took so long, is I had to figure out how to best present the book, and my initial vision was flawed, shall we say.
Your initial vision was not flawed, it was just ambitious.
It was ambitious, but it wasn't ambitious with the right people, shall we say.
Compatriot, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, and that's huge, right? If you're working with the people who aren't, I mean, how much do I want to say?
You don't have to say anything.
It's hard to record an audiobook. It's a lot of work, and it demands that it's just like writing a book. You have to be willing to kind of make a fool of yourself. And if you're not willing,
just because you didn't like my read and told me to go fly a kite,
you probably would have done better.
Oof.
Damn.
It's not really your thing, though, Michael. You're more of a straight narrator.
You don't know what I can do until I've done it, Heidi.
Oh, no.
Sounds good to me.
Now we're all going to be hiring. No, don't. Now we're all going to be hiring Michael. You're in trouble now. You're going to have to start acting.
I have been a thespian on the microphone before, Heidi.
Oh, British too.
Now he tells me. He tells me.
I told you that long ago. I've done voice acting before. Hello.
I don't pay attention.
Yeah, I know you don't. Heidi's world.
Oh, well, I'm in a constant state of distraction. What can I say?
It's fine. You're done now, though. You've gotten it all wrapped up. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And congratulations are in order on the day it is released.
Yes, let's hope we have a very exciting July.
Indeed, yeah.
Zach, have you considered audiobooks?
I have. It's the same thing with me. I need to find the time for it if I'm going to do it myself, or I need to find the money for it if I'm going to get someone else to do it. The interesting thing about our series is like we have a lot of characters, and I've tried before to like brainstorm in my head as I'm writing or editing. I'm just like, okay, let me give this person this voice and assume that they talk like this. Um, and like, when my brother and I read out loud together, sometimes I'll treat it like I'm doing the audiobook.
Performance.
And I'll try to perform it for him. Um, and I commend you, Heidi, because it's a really difficult thing to give everyone a distinct sort of voice. Um, we have a character named Kennedy who is from Boston, right? And he's this detective character. And I've tried to land a voice for him so many times, and it's so hard to give him that Boston sort of twang.
That authentic Boston.
Yeah, and still have that kind of hard boiled like detective attitude. Like I'm having a real hard time merging those two.
Good combo, actually. Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, it's so difficult to merge them together.
Here's something to think about, though, additionally. So you kind of want to consider these aspects. So you can do a straight narration where you're just reading the story. It doesn't need to be voiced at all. Then you can do a fully voiced production where you're doing characters. Or you can do a multi-voiced production where you have different readers coming in and performing things. Or you could do an audio drama. So what I often do for my fiction is I'll do a narration only, and then I will do an audio drama, which is basically a bunch of sound effects. Sometimes that audio drama is fully voiced in the sense that I will do accents for the characters, but not all the time. So there's a lot of variables inside of that. And I would say to take some of that into consideration, in that, you could chip off little by little. I know you have one standalone novel out as well, and like it might be that you could do it the way that Heidi has done, knocking out chapter by chapter a little bit at a time over the course of a long period of time, and then you've got the thing, and then you can release that, and who knows how that goes.
No, honestly you're probably right that it's probably more realistic to do an audiobook for Slip Space, just because right now that is one book, and it is on the shorter end. I think it's 145,000 words.
Holy good Lord, that's not on the shorter end.
For us, that's on the shorter end, right? Our main series, because it's two of us writing, we tend to have pretty big chonkers. Our first book in the Continuum series is over 200,000 words.
You're exhausting me just thinking about lifting it.
It's a post-apocalyptic epic is what we call it.
It certainly is an epic.
Yeah, the second one I think drops back down to 160,000, and this third one we just finished I think is 180 to 190.
Okay.
So we're trying not to write one just that long. The first one I think is going to stay the longest one, which I think is acceptable. It introduces the most, and it's obviously the biggest story. But Slip Space I think would be more realistic. Like I said, 145,000 words, no sequel yet, and it is just me who wrote it. So theoretically, just me voicing it is a little bit easier.
Sure.
If I do decide to voice it, right, there is a chance that I say, well, I've got some money saved up. Let me hire somebody else that I trust to do it. And that's kind of the big decision for me: is do I want to put in the work or do I want to put in the investment?
Put in the work.
You think that's the better idea?
Yes. People would rather listen to a book narrated by the author.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would say it too. I'll tell you, one of the experiences I had is it's like, is that they weren't able to communicate. They couldn't understand the material enough to communicate it, I guess, saying it bluntly, you know? So I got in a position where I was sort of almost micromanaging it, which nobody wants to be in because everyone's confidence gets destroyed. And and I mean, I have chapters that are male point of view, and they're like cowboys, so it's like, who wants to listen to a woman talking like a cowboy? But I'll be honest with you, when it comes to acting, I think it's going to be a lot more easier for people to hear a woman voicing a man than a man voicing a woman. It's very hard for men to do that right, I think, because some of them can do a really good job. Some people not so much. It can start to sound very it just doesn't necessarily, it's harder. You've got to be a better actor, I guess. Would you agree with that, Michael?
No, but
Okay, that
again,
sounds good.
I listen to a lot of audiobooks, predominantly.
You listen, but that's with a good narrator.
Sure, right. I don't want to listen to an audiobook with a bad narrator.
Nobody.
So, so I've also done female lines, performing them inside of my stories and other stories, and it, there's choices that you have to make. You know what I mean? And you
Yes.
also have to be you have to be willing to suspend your own personality within the personification of a character and try and serve the role, serve the line, serve the character, and remove yourself, your inhibitions, who are not present in that story and should not be present in that story, from that performance, so that you can go to that vulnerable space where you can embody the emotions of a thing that's on the page.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm good. I'm just saying that's what you have to do,
That's exactly what you have to do. And it becomes transparent to the listener if you're not doing it, or if you are, or you are not doing it. I do think when the author's reading it, I mean, not every author wants to do it. It just depends, right? Some people just don't have. That's just they're just not going to do it, and that's fine. But if the author can, I think one of the things the reader gets is all of the nuance that you wrote into it, exactly the way the author, sees it, for lack of a better word.
I
That
think I think you had a good point. I think that makes a lot of sense, actually. I guess if I did pay somebody to do it, I would have to be really, really in deep with them through the whole process, review every little step along the way, make sure they're doing it how I envision it.
Let's say this too. Heidi was working with somebody that had no previous experience doing narration and VO. And say you hire somebody online who has previous experience in narration and VO, you're going to be able to get samples from them to where you're able to evaluate their capacity. And inside of that, you don't want to be having to micromanage every single little thing that's going on. You want to get something that's 90% there. And if you then ask them to say, either maybe fix up some production or maybe do some punch-ins here and there, that's okay. But if you got to go through and do line edits on an audio read, that's exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done music, and when you're doing punch-ins and you're doing vocals and stuff, that's how meticulous you have to be for that. But with narration, please get through a paragraph without needing direction. It should not be that way.
And to no fault of, I didn't know what I was doing when I started this, and I was like, I'm going to do this. We're going to dual narration. It'd be great. And I was at zero, and started working with someone who was also at zero, which was fine. But the problem was me figuring it out. And I feel that I kind of had a knack for doing the narration. Because one, I am the author and I know all the nuance. I understood the story completely, so that's just an advantage. But the thing is, I was in the exact position he's talking about, and you don't want to be in that position. It's too much. It's exhausting to have to micromanage someone. So when I'm pulling this person up, it's like I can't. It was just. I'm trying to think of the. It's exactly what Michael was saying. It's you're not getting anywhere. You're just in this it's frustrating, and it's sort of like trying to save a drowning victim by almost drowning yourself. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. It's the
And
hope would be, right, if this was a real professional, that you could be
yes.
there with them for the first couple chapters maybe, and they
Mm.
get the gist of it. Like you only give them that real intense guidance at the very start, and then they pick up on that and they say, okay, I'm going to do this the whole way through the book. Ideally, that would be how it works. Now, that's not a guarantee, right? That's not how it's always going to
Well,
work.
no, and you have to, choose wisely. I mean, if it comes down to it, that's the best I can say. Especially like you say you go through Audible or ACX, you do it through a contract. I just did it with someone that I'd met, and in this person's defense, it's not that they were terrible, but it was too taxing on me because I couldn't keep them afloat and myself. Does that make sense? So
Absolutely.
that was why I was like, I'm gonna cut my losses and just do the whole thing, because at this point I can finish it on my own. This is one of the reasons it took me so long to do it, is I had to learn how to use Audition, how to do all of this stuff, and then I had to deal with trying to pull someone else up to speed, and it was just too much. If I were to work with someone again, I would definitely pick someone professionally, but once you have that contract, say through ACX, if that's the route you go, it's hard to get out of it.
Sure.
So you have to be really, choose wisely if you're going to do that. And I mean, if you feel like you need to micromanage it, that's not you don't want to be in that position. I mean, that's not someone you want to work with if you feel like you have to tell them everything. It's not on them so much. It's because it's not that's more than you want to be doing. It's just more than you want to be doing, right? Especially with a big book. My books, I feel redeemed. I keep getting told my book's too long. It's only 120,000 words, man. I'm a little novella next to what you guys are doing, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
but I mean, give it a shot yourself. Try doing a couple chapters yourself. I had to do one chapter where I've got like six different men talking to each other. I
Yeah.
managed it. I don't know that I'm perfect. I mean, I'm sure that a more professional narrator would have been able to really differentiate their voices better. But the thing is, it's very clear in the text who's speaking. Because again, when I'm writing it, I have to make it clear for someone who's just reading it who's speaking, because I got six different guys having a conversation.
That's an interesting thing to note as well in regards to performing an audiobook and that informing how you write going forward in the future. It's definitely affected how I write because I'm aware of not only how I read, but doing short stories and stuff where I know I'm going to be doing an audiobook production that's an audio drama, and knowing that there's going to be sound effects. Like, I take that into consideration when I'm writing to say, like, how can I translate this into an audio experience and in the production side, where it's like, yeah, I'll do the narration only thing, so everything's got to be on the page, but can I create moments within this story that become really engaging soundscaping opportunities too?
Yeah. No, I could see that. I mean, any kind of medium that you translate to definitely helps your writing. Um, I remember when I was in college and I had first gotten into writing. Um, I had to write the script, or I guess the kind of overlay for a comic book for one of my classes that I was in, and that was a really interesting experience because the whole point is somebody's going to take what you've written and turn it into images and translate that into something visual. So you have to not only be telling a cohesive story in general, but also be conveying the imagery well enough that somebody's going to create those images completely accurately to what you're trying to say. And I think that was a big boost to my writing and my confidence in my writing right from the start, because it makes me think, okay, visually, this is what I'm imagining when I type out this scene, and this is what I want the reader to be imagining, right? And so I assume doing it through audio is a much similar process where you're kind of tackling it from another perspective, and that in turn is going to make you better. You're going to think more about it when you write in the future. This will help me on the audio side if I write it this way, and it'll help it come across better through listening. I could totally see that.
One of the things too, I don't know if you ever read your stuff as part of your editing process. I know Michael's huge on this, and I have to completely agree with him. I found so many things as doing the audiobook. It was like doing the most thorough proofread ever. I mean, I'm gonna use that as part of the process from now on, because it just you hear it, you see it, it really makes a difference,
Yeah.
You I mean, and I don't know about you, it's like, "Oh, read aloud." It's like, well, I'll read aloud for about 3 lines, and if I'm not recording. If I'm recording it, then I'm paying attention, and I'll do it. But so it just makes a huge difference. I mean, that's a real just bonus, even if you don't even release it, but you might as well if you're gonna go to that much trouble. I don't know, but yeah, it's I mean, again, and one of the reasons I think it took me so long is because of, it was a learning experience, as they say. So
Yeah.
way across the board.
No, totally. It's interesting. I want to go back to just real quick. I know you said male authors or male recorders might have a harder time with female characters. I was just thinking about, I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks, admittedly, but the ones I do listen to are usually like big series that I need to get caught up on, but like I don't necessarily feel like sitting down to read.
Yeah.
Um, and so one of those is the Timothy Zahn Star Wars books. I've read most of them myself, but there's a few that I haven't, and so I've just been trying to listen to them in my spare time just to get through all of them. And that voice narrator that they do for those Star Wars books, he's really good at all the male characters, like making them very distinct. He gives characters little accents that set them apart, but all the female characters sound the same. And
Yeah.
I don't know how common that is. That's just my anecdotal experience, but it is an interesting. It kind of gives credence to what you said, where like maybe there is some struggle there.
Well, here's my opinion, kind of having I listen to audiobooks for the same reason when I don't have time to sit down and read, but I'm just like, I want to know this story, right? Um, so what I've heard it done really well. So sorry, my neighbor just texted me. I've heard it done really well. And I'm trying to think of an example of it done really well. Um, that you could listen to that won't make you crazy. A lot of the romance novels do, and I'm, the cheesy, smutty romance novels do the dual narration with male, female. But well, and so the men will be voicing the women, but when it's done poorly, it's what Michael was saying. It's the actor not able to get outside of themselves. They're not able to remove themselves from the equation, and you can hear it. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, and it's being vulnerable enough to not be yourself, to allow yourself to embody that character. And I think that it's easier for women to do that because they're not giving up their masculinity, I guess is the best way to put it. But for men, it can be a challenge. And that was one of the challenges I heard. It was sort of like, I mean, the first thing was, it was just trying to talk in a falsetto where it's, just talking really high. It's like, it's like just this man's voice talking high, but I don't think they necessarily need to do that. It's more about the way they speak as opposed to whether or not they have a high voice or a low voice, because everyone thinks, oh, I'll just talk like this. I don't sound like a female. But it's not that at all. It's the intonation. It's the way.
That's the Monty Python school of voicing women.
Yeah, and it's funny when they're doing it for that reason. It's because it's funny, it's hysterical, but it's not real funny when you have a serious female character, or they'll do an old lady will be all clipped. It's like they're not paying attention to the character. They're paying attention to the archetype maybe, or just to the, I don't know, just something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think
You
when
know Yeah, and that's where it goes wrong, right? So,
yeah,
the guys who do it well don't necessarily try to change the register of their voice, but they change the way they speak.
yeah, I think
Mm.
if you view it as the character I'm voicing is a female, then you're trying to sound like a female, and that's already in and of itself like uh, not necessarily a challenge, but it's like a goal. Like, okay, I want to sound female. But if there's so many female characters in the book, you kind of can't look at it that way necessarily.
Yeah, you gotta give them something.
Yeah, you got to think this character is a little more gravelly, a little more raspy, or a little more husky. Like, I guess you can't look at it as the very first thing you're changing is my voice needs to become female, because at that point, how much more are you going to be able to change if you're not a really really good voice actor?
Well, the thing too, I think is I don't I mean, I can't say if I'm a good voice actor, but I think of it more about the personality of the character as opposed to the sound of their voice. And the sound of their voice comes out of their personality, right? So if I have a
Mhm.
character who's innocent, then what I'm trying to portray is innocence, right? Or if I have someone who's wise, I'm trying to portray wisdom. If I have someone who's a liar or a cheat, I'm trying to portray that. I'm trying to portray the content of their character more than just what they sound like. Does that make sense? I don't know. You guys agree with that, Michael?
No, I think that's a good place to start. You really want to think more about like the voice as an expression of the characterization as opposed to a voice as an expression of like a generic gender.
Yeah, and that demands a certain level of intelligence from the person doing the work. I mean, that's the thing to kind of try and flush out is it's like, dare I say it, how smart is this person? I mean, the whole experience gave me a respect for actors I never thought I would have. Gotta be honest. Because you realize that they have to be I mean, there's always a fluke, but there has to be a certain level of intelligence to be able to understand and portray these characters effectively. On
Yeah,
any kind of acting, I think I've learned over the past year.
100%. I agree.
And it's tough, I think, when you're first starting to be able to do that stuff. You know, I've only been doing fiction for the last 2 years or so. Maybe, yeah, little over 2 years, I guess. Maybe 3 years max. When I first started, I guess when I first started tracking recording stuff was almost 3 years ago. But the thing that I learn is that as I find new challenges within it, not only for my writing, but doing other material, is that I discover new ways of using and applying my voice within it. because it's a muscle and it's a skill and it's something that you have to like keep in shape in general as well, so that you can execute on what you hear in your mind. And that's the thing too. Like when I'm doing a read, like I'll read a line multiple times until I get something that I feel is appropriate. Or sometimes I'll do multiple readings in the exact same cadence, and then chop that stuff together in post, in editing, because I find that while I was recording it, I really liked one part, or I really liked one line reading. I might like one part from one and another part from another, and more largely, I like the way that those two things seat together in relation to the line before and the line that comes after. Stuff you learn.
Sure. I mean, it's just like writing, right? You want the best result, you gotta redo it a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, it is. You absolutely do. I think, when I think I recorded the first chapter. I was supposed to say, "Hi, Nis, I haven't seen you in a while." Um, when I okay, but let me back up. When I did it, I think I recorded the first chapter like 5 or 6 times until I really got a feel for it. And then I had to learn the editing process. I think I probably by the end of it, I got a lot better at it. But it's like anything. You're not gonna you suck at it until you're good at it. You just have to kind of hang in there.
I don't think I knew that you did the first chapter 5 or 6 times.
I did. I did it a bunch of times because
Brutal.
well, it's not, it wasn't, I was trying to learn. It was,
Sure.
it was fun and I was trying to figure it out. So, I mean, I hadn't done it before, so I had to keep going at it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only thing I would say. I think figuring, I mean, you're safe if you're doing the narration. If you don't like what you're doing, you can micromanage yourself all you want. But once you get someone else, that's the only thing I would say. It's like I would start out at least playing around with it yourself so you get a feel for what you want. And then if you want to hand it off to someone, because of time or just whatever reason, at least you have an idea of what you're looking for once you've done it some, because you understand the process. I think that might be the best way to approach it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, the thing for me, again, like if you're recording a chapter 5 or 6 times, it's effectively no different than recording a line 5 or 6 times. You know what I mean? It's the same amount of time. It's just that, like, I'm doing it all in line in one take. I'm not necessarily like setting up, breaking down, listening back, and then having to do that over and over and over again. Which, I get it because you were figuring out how to do all the technical stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that, I mean, it was more me figuring it out, and
Yeah.
that's what, it was trying to learn everything, and I did it by practicing on that first chapter a
Sure.
bunch of times.
Plus, it's the first chapter.
What?
Plus, it's the first chapter, so you want to land it.
This is true. This is true. That's your 5-minute thing. That's your 5-minute retail sample is the first 5 minutes of the first chapter. So you definitely want to land that one. But I mean, that was the one I had to practice. So
Yeah.
that was what I did to practice and listen back and figure out how I'm recording things and all this stuff.
Yeah. No, your voice is good.
Thank you. I lucky to have it.
Well, this is when we usually begin to wrap things up for the day. So, are there any final parting thoughts, words, comments, things that we should know about?
I appreciate you guys' help for sure. I appreciate the audiobook advice. Definitely say it's in the future somewhere. I got to get through some real world stuff, trying to build a career and all that jargon. But once I'm on my feet and I feel like I have the time or the money, it's definitely going to happen. And I think that'll be another big boost. Like you guys said, you got to get that stride going. And now that I've got 3 books in this series, potentially a sequel to Slip Space coming at some point, because that's top performing book we've got. Then yeah, I think we only go up from here. So lots coming down the pipeline, and looking forward to seeing what's next.
Heidi, comments, thoughts?
I'm still numb that I finished the blasted thing, and it's in review over at Audible.
Huge.
So my audiobook, it just
your white whale.
It feels
your
my
albatross.
I caught the white whale. I did better than Ahab. I caught him.
Congratulations.
God. So I've got a novella that I want to get out definitely this year. It might be good. Maybe fall. I mean, it's pretty quick. It's about 100 pages. I mean, this is not a long thing. And then I've got my second book. I'm going to start working on that in tandem. I think that's more. It's going to take a little longer. That's the bigger one. That's another 400 pager. So this is probably the rest of my year, and I'm going to try really hard not to write this novel that's pounding in the back of my head, and weigh myself down some more. So those are my goals right now.
Very good. Well, hey, this has gone well, and we'll talk again before too long.